Thank you for joining us for Monday morning musings or Monday morning quarterbacks.
The
or
15-minute drill,
The 15-minute drill, as Freddie wants to call it. This is a reflection on all that happened last Friday night, and a lot of things did happen, and the week leading up to it. Freddie, let's get right into it. The big thing before a game was even played on Friday was the ruling by CIF, or the declaration thereof, that Drake Beasley, the running back who transferred from Loyola to La Cañada, has been found ineligible, and now his only chance now is to appeal to the CIF state, and then maybe after that a court case that would probably take place after the season. So
well, this is a player that transferred from Loyola, a Division I school last year, to La Cañada, a Division 12 school, and we don't know all of the details of this. If you look on CIF's website, it still says this decision is pending. Beasley has gotten the letter. He has been ruled ineligible. We don't know all of the details of his ineligibility, but I do think you're right, Aaron, we've talked about it. This has to do with the athletic motivation rule, and it's a difficult thing because from what I understand,
athletic motivation.
It's the athletic motivation rule, transferring for athletic motivation.
No, it's undue influence.
Semantics. Sort of the same thing.
Right. Well, yeah. Nobody ever transfers, because they think it's a better school. At least not athletes.
Right.
So yeah. But the allegation here was, a couple things: residency and undue influence. That a La Cañada assistant coach, like you said, for athletically motivated reasons, wanting this kid on his team, supposedly lured a kid who played youth football there to the program. Yeah. Or youth football for him.
And the problem I have with a lot of these decisions, and we've gone through these all over the years. I pointed out to you, I think, I had just casually looked at the Modern Day website to see how many transfers they had. They had something like 48 transfers. None of them...
That's across all sports, right?
Yeah, across all sports. Right. None of those had been denied yet. A lot of them are pending. My point is, these kids transfer all over. It's to single out one, to single out another here. It's just really hard. And these guys, this is a football player who has Pac-12 offers, who has a big future ahead of him, and you just wonder why this penalty has to be so severe. Why it has to be the death penalty for a football player. And CIF does have a rule. From what I understand, Beasley at the beginning of the year could have opted to right away say that he was going to sit out the 5 games and be eligible, I think, sometime in October. Is that right? That's one of the...
These are things that I've heard, Fred, but until someone at CIF actually gets back to me and I can clarify that, then I don't know. And I guess I could go through the bylaws or the blue book, but I want to hear it from them specifically, because I've been, told different things. Heck, there's even thoughts at La Cañada on their coaching staff, let's just play him, win as many games as we can, and if we forfeit and have no playoffs, then we do. Of course, that would probably lead to La Cañada getting a ban from CIF from the membership for a year or 2 or 3, but there's all kinds of things out there.
And to make it real simple, you have someone like a Tyler Sweet, who's at Bishop Amat. He left in the summer. He went to Upland. He
left a week before the season.
He was immediately eligible because Bishop Amat, the school he was leaving from, didn't challenge that transfer, and he applied under a change of address. He was ready to go. He didn't have to sit out the 5 weeks. And I think he probably knew Bishop Amat was not going to challenge that transfer, which allowed him to do that and get started right away. Like I said, players do. I do think this is true. They have the option of going the sit-out route, so they don't have to worry about these other things. But what I don't like about that is you're telling players that you basically have to take a plea bargain on your season, or you're taking a chance. What I would like to see happen from this is that when these things are challenged, when rulings like this happen, that 5-game sit-out rule automatically takes effect instead of you have no alternative now, you get the death penalty. That's where I think this is wrong. If they want to declare him ineligible, if this is true, then let him sit out the 5 games and let that reverse back.
I think 5's even too much. I say 2.
But even so, let's not make it the death penalty. Let's not say because the school decided to challenge and it didn't work out this way, then let it go back to the 5 games, because that's basically what a lot of other athletes are doing who don't want to go through all this. I think it would clear up a lot of stuff, because at the end of the day, Drake Beasley should be having to sit out his whole year when there are other cases exactly like him all over the place where guys are sitting 5 games and they're going to be eligible.
5 games are eligible right away.
The point is, he hasn't sat out. He did sit out these first couple games.
Right.
He hasn't been playing. 3 games now. So he has been sitting out. For you not to be able to go back and fix that,
right.
I think that's a
You brought up a good point last week, Freddie, that said, the problem with this rule also is that it allows the schools too much power.
Right.
It's too easy for a Loyola to step in and say, oh, wait a second, we're challenging it on this reason. And ultimately, CIF has to weigh what Loyola presented and what La Cañada presented and then make its decision. But yeah, you're right. The problem is that some schools will simply take, the route that Amat did and say, hey, you don't want to be here? Then don't be here.
Right.
And like we've said before, football is an all-in sport. If someone doesn't want to be committed to your team, to your football family, then you got to let them go. It's like a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or a husband or a wife. You don't want to be here, then don't be here, because it's worse if you are.
And you got to remember, these schools are the ones who write up these bylaws for CIF to enforce. So the schools have written these rules in a way, when it comes to this, when it comes to this in particular, transfers where if they choose to be vindictive, they can choose to be vindictive and do what we see here with the Beasley situation now.
Tell you for a fact, Freddie, that a lot of the CIF guys don't like the transfer rules. It's been written about already this season, and I tell you what, Rob Wygott, I think if he had his way, you'd have a whole different set of transfer rules, and it would be a lot easier than what it is now. And I'll tell you something else. On that note, I think it's time for Rob Wygott to push for that to happen more than he has, because I know he wants that. Push for it the way he pushed for the playoff division changes and those things. If he does this and convinces the membership, like, hey, look, it's bad, it's just bad optics for CIF and all these places to have some kids eligible, some kids not. I know everything's a case-by-case basis, Freddie, but the thing is that you can't help that afterwards public perception is, well, why does this school get all its kids eligible, but this one doesn't? It's an unintended bad consequence that makes everything look bad when it happens, and that's what you have here.
And last time, I know it sounds simplistic, but when you think about it, coaches can transfer year to year. There is no penalty. I mean, they can do what they want. Band members, cheerleaders, anyone in extracurricular activities can transfer, and there is no penalty. As long as these schools, the school districts allow them in those schools, and they're making the grades, they're good citizens, they should be eligible to play like anyone else, like a coach that moves, like a cheerleader that moves, like a band member that moves. Stop singling out these athletes. Let's move on from this and start letting these guys play as long as they're in school.
In order to do that, Freddie, a lot of people are going to have to get over the lie that they're telling themselves, and that's that to a lot of these kids, athletics is the most important thing they do in high school. I'm sorry, but it's true. I wish everybody was a 4.0 student, but it's not realistic.
And all these people that, even on the blog and this, these kids shouldn't be doing. It's between the families and these kids. It's not between you and me. It's not for a coach to decide. They need to decide what they think is in the best interest of their kids. Bottom line, we may not like it. We may not like a kid that transfers 2 or 3 times his career, maybe middle of the season, but it's the parents' decision and their kids. They have to live with it in the end. Why do we get so caught up on it? Because we're so concerned with how our team is doing, how it affects our football team.
Because
it's about these kids,
there's a lot of people living in the past that think that you should just go to the school down the street from you and play there, no matter if their coach sucks or if their program sucks, if they have tackling sleds or not, or blocking sleds or not, no matter if they embrace their athletics programs or not. Because there's a lot of kids, Fred, that live in areas where they don't embrace the basketball program or the football program, and that is important to them, and they want to go somewhere where they do. So be it. Like you said, it's a personal freedom thing. Now,
all right, we chewed up 9 minutes of our 15 minutes. So let's go. We got 6 minutes.
Moving on, Freddie. I know this was the venue that you wanted to kind of bring back Bishop Amat, right, from the dead. This is where we say they're back. Everything's
big
great.
Win last week.
And big win the last 2 weeks, right? And now Amat fans are really jumping up and down because Servite gave Concord de La Salle such a great game last week, and that flattered Amat.
La Mirada got beat down by Mater Dei, which is exactly what they did to
there's
Bishop
2
Amat.
ways to look at that. I think that game was 48-0.
No, shut up. La Mirada in 2 weeks has played the 2 big schools, and they haven't scored a point.
Right. However, they played them back to back. Bishop Amat got Mater Dei fresh off the block.
Whatever you want to say.
That was a start. And also, Bishop Amat allowed 63 points, and that was, before the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
so
quick.
Right. So I think modern day only allowing 48 is a pretty good thing. I think when you take away
from that, I mean, you can look at scores and say what you want. Both teams got blown out by those teams when they played them. I mean, it was obvious that modern day was the far superior team, whether they're playing Amat or La Mirada. But about Bishop Amat, I mean, that win last week, that was an eye-opener for me. They're better than I thought they were. Their young guys are better than I thought they were. They do get after you on defense. I was surprised how well they stood up to Jay Sarah, who was ranked 6th coming in that game and had won both of their games. Bishop Amat will play St. Paul this week, maybe. We won't know that until later this afternoon. There was a fight last week, St. Paul and Riverside Notre Dame. It was a 17-0 game in the third quarter when that game was called. We don't know what's going to happen, what the fallout is. We're hearing there might be a double forfeit. Possibly both teams might forfeit games this week, depending on how many players got suspended. My wife is trying to call me. Wife, I'm in the middle of we're doing, Aram and I are doing our thing.
Fred's talking about Bishop Amat.
I'll call you back. That's how you deal with the wife sometimes when you're doing a show like this.
Oh, he's going to pay tonight.
I hope she's not watching this, but let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the bottom line, they look great, and I think the Mission League's going to start in a few weeks, Aram.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a shot of contending for
I think it's coming down to that Week 10 game against Chaminade. Yeah, hopefully both teams will be undefeated in league. Yeah. I don't know why they couldn't. I mean, there's always, Sarah in that league, and they're 0-3, and people are, saying, don't buy that record. They played good teams. They're still talented. But after Sarah, Amat, Chaminade, I think the rest of the league.
Well, and I'll say this, last year, previous years, I could look at certain games and say, I'm pretty sure they're going to get this one. I don't know if there are any Sarah League games where you're going to say Amat's this is a guarantee.
You mean Mission League?
Mission League, I'm sorry. This is a guarantee. But I think they're going to be in a lot more games than I thought they were, and I wouldn't be surprised if they finished top 3. Wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, in the end, they're playing Chaminade for that league title. They're not that bad. Not nearly as bad as I thought they were. I said 3-7, 4-6. I'm changing that to 5-5 or 6-4 now, maybe even 7-3.
Right. Well, yeah, and they certainly got up off the mat the way you would expect a very prideful program to do that. And it looks like Bishop Amat's going to keep getting better and better. So that's good. Everything's kind of stabilized there for the time being. Yeah. And now we'll see if they even get to play this week against St. Paul. Freddie, we're going to get to some of the other big games coming up here in our 2-minute drills. That we want everybody to watch because we do have some big things coming up this week. But I don't know. I don't think there's anything left to kind of go over, right?
I think Tuesday morning we'll put up the drills, so pay attention, and we'll come back every week. Whatever there is to talk about from the weekend. This week we obviously had the big Drake Beasley fallout. St. Paul, we're going to find out what happens from that. But yeah, we'll be back next week and do it again.
Right. Okay, everybody. Be looking for those 2-minute drills to get you ready for this week's games and what we'll be talking about next Monday.
Let's go Rams.